Oswald, what the hell are you doing in there? Do you realize how damn dirty that thing is? Your mother would...
Hello everyone and welcome back to Walden's Workshop. I'm your host Justin, and today we're going to be making Springbonnie from the new Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit game. This August 8th marks the 10th anniversary of the original Five Nights at Freddy's. In celebration, fans are getting a new Five Nights at Freddy's game based off the first FAZBEAR FRIGHTS book, Into the Pit. And what better way for us to celebrate than by making Springbonnie himself? As you may have noticed by the intro, this isn't your regular costume creations video. That's because this is the first video in my new series called Blueprints. Different from my costume creations videos where I take photos along the way of my build process, the Blueprint series is going to be a tutorial series where we build the costume together. I'll give you guys materials, measurements, and record the entire build process so you guys can see it. And if you were to try to build the same thing at home, we're going to be building it step by step together. So, right now there will be timestamps on screen so you can skip ahead to the section you'd like to see. You can pause the screen now to skip ahead to your favorite section, or you can just let the video play on. So, without further ado, let's go back in time and show you guys how to build Into the Pit Springbonnie. Okay, so I've cleared off the workbench, and now we're going to discuss the materials you'll need for this project. So let's start with our basic tools. Those would include a ruler or tape measure, a marker, a pencil, painter's tape, some scissors, some tacky glue, box cutter, a hot glue gun, and of course, some hot glue sticks. Also, this isn't really necessary, but I like to have something to put my hot glue gun on so it doesn't glue to the table or drips of glue don't get onto the stuff I'm working on. Next, let's take a look at the different types of foam we'll be using. You're going to want some high density EVA foam. This is 3mm thick. There's a store near my house called Hobby Lobby, and they sell it for about $6. Pretty nice. Next, you're going to want some project foam. I recommend 1 inch of thickness. This is the spongy stuff that we're going to make the cheeks and the nose out of. You're also going to want some foam clay. This turns into like EVA foam kind of. Another thing you might need are these EVA foam puzzle pieces. They have the puzzle ridges on the ends. It's thicker foam. I think it's 5mm maybe on the back of it. It's got this like texture. You can actually get thicker foam that's got no texture, but it's kind of expensive. And these puzzle pieces you can get like 4 for like $10, and that's a lot of foam, more than you'll ever need. And you're also gonna want a foam sheet in bright yellow. Alright, we're gonna move on to our fabrics. Now, if you don't know, I get all my fabric from GMAN's. It's a fabric store around my area. Type of fabric is called a anti-fill plush fleece. I love the texture it gives off, and I use it in almost all of my costumes. So if you're looking for the same like type of fabric, here's a better, closer look. It's anti-fill plush fleece. I think that the color I'm holding right now is called Bumblebee Yellow. It's like a golden yellow, not super like gold colored, but it's still a bright yellow. This is the same yellow that I used on my new FREDDY mask, and we're going to use it for Springbonnie, so here's a good look at it. We're also going to be using this lighter yellow. It's called Daffodil, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Daffodil, I'm pretty sure is the type of color this is. It's the same anti-fill plush fleece. Pretty sure that this color was used for Chica, and we're going to use it for the snout. We're also going to want some black. This is just a matte black, same fleece as the other 2 fleeces so far, the anti-fill plush fleece. And you know, black is a good color for the inside of the eyes and inside of the mouth and stuff, different areas. And then if you don't have black anti-fleece, or if you don't want to get a bunch, you can also get one of these felt sheets. These are sheets of black felt. I got them at Michael's, and they're really great to just cut. And if you just need a little bit, I think we're just going to need a little bit for around the eyes and around the bottom of the jaw. So if you're not looking to get a lot like the fleece, and the fleece might be a little expensive, you can always get some black felt and at Michael's, and these are like 98 cents per sheet, so you just need like one of them, so it's pretty great. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier in the video, so I'm going to mention it right now. I'm going to try to do my best to put links to all the materials that I've listed and that are being listed in each section down in the bottom of the description, so that way you guys can see and you guys can just click and go buy the materials you're looking for. If you're trying to build a Springbonnie, or you're trying to build a different character like FRIGHTS or something, I'm going to try to have all those links for you in the description, so I hope that helps. Alright, lastly, we're going to look at the types of paints that you'll need. Of course, my favorite, the semi-gloss black, semi-gloss white. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but they're all by Rust-Oleum. I love Rust-Oleum. Next, we're going to need some metallic. This is metallic aluminum. And last but certainly not least, we're going to use this apple red gloss. For miscellaneous items, I'm going to put these jumbo ping pong balls. We're also going to put these glass cabochons, and we're going to use them for the eyes. They're made of glass, and they're like half circles, kind of. Wow, isn't that a lot of materials? And we're all going to use this to build one character. Just how many materials goes into one costume head, even, is really crazy. You know, I never really lay it out and take a look at it. I always just build and then go, I need this, you know? So it's really cool to see it all laid out. And so I hope that I got everything on the list and everything that we're going to be using. If I didn't, I'm going to go back and edit it, and you'll never know that I forgot it. Or maybe I am going to forget it, and then I'll be very, very sad. No, we're going to remember and have everything on the list. So that should be everything. Again, links in the description below to all of these things. I hope that I get everything, and I hope that I do help in your search to get all of these different materials. So now, let's get into the build. Also, I did a little sketch of how Springbonnie, I think I'm going to try to make him look like. I'm going to put it on the side of the screen so you can see the kind of resemblance. This is kind of a what I think Springbonnie looks like out of 8-bit form. I don't know how good my drawing is to what I'm going to build or whatever, you know. Okay, so I've plugged in the glue gun, and now we're going to start working on the Springbonnie mask, and I'm actually going to bring you closer, so magical transition. So first we're going to start with our roll of EVA foam. This is a piece that I've cut into substantially, and I'm hoping that I can salvage what's left of it, I should say. Now, for your head, you're going to want a big enough piece that covers your entire head as a tube shape like this, and then put it on my head, right, to make sure that's a big enough piece, right? It might be a little loose, so you just tighten it, or it might be too tight, so you loosen it, same deal. The measurement, if you guys are looking for exact measurements, a length of 26 3/4 inches and a height of 7 inches. So 7 inches up and 26 3/4 inches lengthwise. So let's mark those out on the EVA foam and start marking and cutting. For this, I'm going to use my pencil. I don't want to make any permanent markings yet, so we're just going to use the pencil and mark it out. Alright, now that we've got our piece we're going to go ahead and cut with our scissors. These are actually some paper scissors. Wrong scissors. You are learning right alongside me. You know, I've done this many times, but I haven't tutorialed it, and also I don't know how the finished product is going to come out. But let's cut our lines out. Now what we're going to do is glue along the back here, and we're going to turn this into our tube, and this is going to be our back seam. Now remember, the hot glue is extremely hot, so you don't want to touch it. I would recommend wearing gloves, but I have a gun that does a very low heat, and also that's good because if you're doing small parts like this, the glue dries almost instantly. Alright, so there we go. So now we have our tube shape. If you want to add more strength to the back seam, what you can do is cut a smaller piece like this. Okay. So there we go. And we're going to glue it on the inside across the seam line. We're going to glue it like this on the inside. Make sure to tap press on your pieces to make sure that they bond together. Okay, so now we've got our tube shape, and what we're going to do next is we want to find the center of the front. So what I usually do is I fold it in half, roughly, right? And I fold it in half from the seam line that we made, our back seam, to the front here. And then where it folds in half, I draw a little line. And then with our ruler, we can go ahead, match it up. Make sure our line is straight. I think that's about roughly where the right across would be, right where the face should be, I'd say. I think that's a fair guess. I'm pretty sure you can measure it out and find the exact center, but for our purposes, I think that's pretty good. Where we drew our line, that is going to be the center of our face. And what we're going to do next is we're going to sketch out where we want our features. So for our good pal Springbonnie here, I would say that the muzzle goes up roughly about like 2 and 3/4 of an inch. Put it back on the desk like this, and we're going to mark a line across. So kind of like that. That's the top of our muzzle. For smaller costumes like this, because I'm going for kind of like my newest FRIGHTS design, it's going to be a smaller like spring lock suit. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and put our center line on the 1/2 an inch, and the spacing between the eyes is going to be a full inch. So let's go ahead and draw that. And then you're going to draw a line from the top of the muzzle all the way up to the top of the head through your point that you made. Now we have something like this. And what we're going to do is sketch out our eyes in these corners. I'd say that the eyes in width are about 2 3/4 of an inch, and in height from the top of the muzzle here, I would say that they are roughly 2 1/4 inch. So what you're going to want to do is on either side, you're going to put your mark and you're going to draw a line up, and for the tops of the eyes, you're going to draw a line across. So now you can see we have our little boxes for our eyes, and that's where we're going to put our kind of circle for our eyes. Also, I think I might sketch on a little nose so that we knows where the nose goes. Now the boxes are just references for roughly where the eyes should go. But if you think they should be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, that's up to you. I think maybe I might make mine even a little bit bigger than the box itself, and we'll see about that. What do we think? Does that look like the front of a rabbit? I might make it a little bit bigger on the sides. So let me show you what that's going to look like. We're going to draw it in Sharpie. If you've made it this far in the video, why not smash that like button so that way I know that you guys want more tutorial videos, because this is taking a little long and it's going to take just as long to edit, I assume, you know. But there we go. Now you can see our rabbit has a face. Now we're going to move on to the next step, which is the top of the head. So now we have our 1 inch thick foam, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut out a circle for the top of the head. So what I've got here are some different bowls and plates and stuff. If you're doing this at home and you are a person who lives with your parents, do not use the markers on the bowls, okay? So you borrow it, right? We're gonna find one that kind of fits our head. Look at that, just right, almost just right. We're gonna take it like this, and it doesn't even fit on the piece that I've got in front of us. But that's okay, because what we actually can do is we can draw half of it and then cut the rest of it and glue it together, and I'll show you how. So what I like to do is put the Sharpie inch away, like that. See how much, there's like a little gap. See, there's a gap. You see that gap? Okay, so now we've done that, and we've got our point where it cuts off, and then we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to cut out our two pieces. We've got one almost full circle. There's just a little bit off the bottom here. It's not connected. And then we've got our kind of half circle piece here that we're going to glue along the side, and we're going to connect them and make a perfect circle. So ready? So now we're going to glue these together. This is the torso of a character. Can you guess which one? And we're going to recycle it because I made a new torso. If you know whose torso this is, you'll know that this is kind of ironic. So now let's cut out our circle. Okay, now we've got our two circles, which add up to 2 inches. And we're going to glue our piece. We're going to trim some of the excess off, make it a little bit better of a circle. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that connection. Perfect. Now, we've got our circles, 2 of them, precisely. And these circles are going to make up the top of the heads. They might be a little bit bigger than the head. That's okay, because we can shrink them a little bit. Because if you cut it too small, then it won't work. And I think we just cut it just right. So let's trace the circle. Look at that. I think we got a piece that really fits, really snug. Maybe even better than our first circle. So what I think I'll do is I'll glue this one on the top. Like that. We're going to decide that this piece with the seam is going to be the back. B for back. And we'll do the same. An F for front. An arrow for front. And a B for back. We're going to line them up. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue a big circle, and we're going to glue an X in the middle. So big circle, X in the middle. We're going to do half of it first. So the glue doesn't dry. Press it down. So now we've got our two circles together. We're going to glue along the edge of the bottom piece. I'm going to say that this is the bottom piece, and we're going to glue along the edge and glue it to the mask. But before we do that, what we want to do is cut out a ring for our head to fit into, or in my case, for my big foofy hair to fit into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a knuckles width, which is about an inch, and we're going to draw a circle. Well, there's definitely prettier circles out there, but what we're just going to do is cut it out. You could have done this first, but I forgot. That's why watch the whole tutorial all the way through. See the mistakes before you make them. There we go. Turned out a little bit not great, but you know, that's why you should do that first before you glue it down. Sometimes we make mistakes, and that's okay. And also, for this mistake, no one will ever know, because it's, well, except for all of YouTube, but this is going to go on the inside of the head, and you know, it'll be hidden. We are going to glue along the edge, just along the edge, and we're going to glue it to the mask. So, let's say that line. Can you see the line? The line is the glue. We're going to glue it right there. Once you glue the front, which is always, to me, the most important part that you glue first, once you glue it, I would suggest stuffing the rest of it in, and then what you can do is slowly come along and push the nozzle of the glue gun in a little bit, or you can come in from the bottom and glue along the seam here. Now we're just going to gently press along the edges. And once everything is cooled, then we'll get started on our next step, which I think will be to cut out the eyes and trim down this block. So here's what I like to do for cutting the eyes. What I'll do is, without poking myself, right, you want to make sure that your fingers are far enough away, but you can still have a good grip on the material. At the bottom of the eye, you're going to poke a hole. Slow. There you go. It will poke, so be slow. Don't stab it. Don't stab yourself. And then we're just going to cut out the eyes. And now we can do a little bit of a test fit, you know. Let's see. I think it's pretty good. Let's see. And there is a little bit of room for the eyes, which is being occupied by my huge glasses. If you think that your mask needs a little more room, you can always reopen this center seam and put another, like a triangle of foam in here. But I think that I'm happy with the size. There's a lot of room in here. Pretty good. Next step for Springbonnie here is we are going to cut along the circle here, and we're going to try to shape it into a dome shape for Springbonnie. But I gotta be honest, I think we got something. I think we got something pretty good. Pretty good slope, pretty good you know, dome shape. So I brought back our pieces from earlier that we cut our circles out of, and we're going to reuse some of these pieces, and we're going to use it for our nose and our cheeks of Springbonnie. Of course, for a Springbonnie build, I don't think I would have given him cheeks if we were going for something like Springtrap, but if you look at our design here, and actually I'm just going to put it up on screen over here. It's Springbonnie has cheeks, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of foam. You know what, this is pretty good. I might just be able to make both cheeks out of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 1-inch craft foam. We're going to go ahead and put it against the side, and we're going to make sure that it starts roughly right a little after the eye, roughly about after the eye, the cheek should start. And what you want to do, make sure that it is long enough to come almost to the back. You want to leave the back flat. The cheeks don't go all the way around, I don't think. But we're going to do this piece in half, I think. What do you think? Do you think we can get 2 cheeks out of this if I just draw a line down the middle of it? I think we can. I think we can. That's about where we're aiming for, but just a little bit between the center and the bottom of the eye, like right here. So you're going to cut your rectangle, and then we're just going to glue it to the side, like that. We are also going to take the dimensions of from eye to eye, like that, from here to here. So that's roughly what? About 6.5 inches. I think we're going to give a little bit less than that. So 6.25 inches we're going to do. And we're going to cut a rectangle out of this stuff. And we want to make sure it is the right size. So about 2.5 inches. So let's glue the cheeks down. What I like to do for these big rectangle pieces is glue in squares. So I will draw that line here to glue it down, and then I'll draw a square in the glue, another square, until we get to the end. Also, make sure that for the rectangle that we cut out for the nose, do not glue it down yet, because we're going to carve it separately and we're going to cover it in a different type of fabric. So you don't want it to be very hard to cover, you know. But, you know, once we got those pieces down, we got some cheeks. And now what we need to do is carve them down to be rounded, you know. And we're going to sketch out just about where we want the cheeks to come down, where we want them rounded out. I always like the corners, a little bit more towards the back, a little bit of slope at the top. So kind of like that, we're going to round it out. Okay, there we go. So now we have these rounded out cheeks. Pretty good, huh? But I think what we want to do next is I want there to be a curve, like a smile, up, and then it can come back around. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to the corner where we place the cheeks. We're going to mark a little dot. I don't know, can you guys see? A little dot. And we're going to come up to where I think the tops of the cheeks should be, which is usually off-centered. So let's say this is the center of the cheeks, right? Then this is about where the smile would come to a point. Is to get that smile, as we come up from here, and we roughly mark out a line. Like that. And that is technically how much we're going to cut off. I'd rather cut along here than along here, so we're going to do that. Alright, great. So now, Springbonnie will have this evil looking smile, kind of. Just along the back here, we're going to find the center point from this line to the bottom there. So I think that would be the center, from the bottom to the top. It's kind of hard to tell because there's just a big chunk of foam there. But I think that is roughly the center. And we're going to make a line all the way across. And then we're going to cut that line. there we go. What we're going to do is round out these corners that we just cut. I think that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Okay, so now we have our rectangle here, and we're going to transform this into his nose. Create where the center line is. I think that'd be roughly about right there. So now we've got our center line. We can kind of cap out where his nose would roughly go. That's about where his nose would sit. Now, what we want to do is just round it out. So there we go. Now we're gonna carve it. Also gave him kind of a divot in the bottom of his, I don't know if you can see that, just a little triangle cut in the bottom, and we're going to score along that center line. And that is just so foam, when we put the fabric, it has somewhere to sit and it'll create that nice crease for us. Now you can see he's really starting to come together. Okay, so we've got our 1-inch foam again. We've been using it for a bunch of pieces. And what we're going to do is figure out how big we want the ears on our rabbit. And we can do maybe, let's do 3 inches, right? Let's do 3.5. I think 3.5 is the right measurement. Let's do 3.5 here. Look at that, right? Oh wait, this part is not that greatly straight, however. So what is that now? It's 3 1/4. I think we're gonna have to do that instead. Anyways, I think that's a little bit better. I thought maybe 3.5. A little too thick. Anyway, so we're gonna go 11 inches. That right there is 11 inches right there. And what is half of 11? 5.5. Right there. So we come across here like this. There we go. Now we got 4 perfect rectangles that we're going to turn into the ears on either side. I think it's going to be just long enough that I'm happy with it. So half of 5.5 would be 2 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to make a mark there, right? And we don't want to cut a line. We don't want to confuse ourselves. So we're just going to draw some dots. We all see? There's the dots. And what we're going to do is we're going to give about maybe an inch at the top. So because it's 3 1/4, we'll just go from 1 to 2 1/4. Same on the other side, from the 1 to 1/4. Then we're just going to curve that out. And then when we cut them out, they will look really great. So, that's the next step. Let's cut them out. So, with ears, there we go. There's a rabbit. But I think those are going to be pretty perfect. I think maybe I'm going to trim them down just a hair. Get it? Anyway, I'm just going to trim the bottoms here of each piece. Just maybe 1/4 of an inch. Ear size right there. Yeah, I like that. Now, of course, what we got to do is just barely round it out. We don't want to round it out as much as like the cheeks and stuff, but just to cut along the edges that bevel. You want to do that to all the pieces. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we have our ear pieces. Next step would be to create the jaw. So let's get into that. Okay, so now we've got a piece of, this is a recycled piece of that puzzle piece foam that I mentioned in the foams bit of the video. And we haven't come to it, but we're going to use some of it for the jaw. So I did make a template out of the thinner EVA, but I think that we're going to make it out of the thicker stuff just so it holds a little better. And to do that, what you would need to do is we are going to take the circle. I'm just going to use the piece that we cut out, and you're going to line it up with your foam, and you're going to trace out your half circle. You want a half circle, guys. Oops. But I already did that on here, so I'm just going to trace this bit. You'll notice I have my circle, or my half circle, and we're going to cut it out. And I like this thicker foam because it's going to be very durable for what we're going to use it for, which is for our chin, for the jaw. Okay, so we've got our chin plate, but we do want the jaw to be thicker, right? And it needs to be thicker for the mouth, and I think the best way to do that is to figure out how thick the cheeks are. The cheeks are about 3 inches thick, wow. And or at least on the fronts of them. And so we've got our foam here, which is about 2.5 inches thick. But I wanted to cut it down a little bit anyway. I don't think it should be as thick as the cheeks, but I think that's perfect. So we're going to use this big stretch of foam. Let's see how long it is for you guys at home to want to measure. This is about 21 inches, maybe 21.25 inch. And we're just going to cut that length across here out of the foam. There we go, it's quite long. I might trim off this edge a little bit. Now it's probably like 21 inches exactly. And this is going to connect to our chin plate. And we're going to glue it like this. But we're going to center it as much as we can, and we're going to glue it on. I think that this might be a little bit too thick for Springbonnie here, but actually I'm going to mark with the marker just about where the jaw sits. Where's the kind of ends of the jaw. I think that's done it. Let's see, what do you guys think? Did a good job? Okay, so now what we gotta do is glue this chin piece. I want to make sure it's not like at the bottom exactly. It's like kind of offset from the middle. Does that make sense? So you're going to glue it kind of on the middle, kind of a little bit lower than where the middle of this craft foam piece is. We're going to make a dot about halfway right here. This was a part that was called Teeth 22. That's for another project, stay tuned. But that's not for this project. And then we're also going to come a little bit, about a knuckles width, maybe a little bit less, for the corners here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to round it out, kind of like that, and then we're going to cut it. I think that turned out pretty great. Yeah. Okay, so now we've glued this EVA foam part to the lip of the chin or whatever, the lip of the jaw, and also we keep this pattern section that looks like metal almost on the bottom, so that way when he opens his mouth it's like flat, and we can put teeth and stuff there. He might have a little bit too big of a mouth. It might be too big for him, so we might have to fix that in a second. But no, because his nose still needs to be there, right? Oh no. I think it's good, because I'm forgetting his nose takes up like some of the space, you know. I think we're just going to cut him down just a hair. Just a little bit. But how are we going to strengthen these sides? Well, we're going to take our piece here, right? And we're going to cut it in half. This is the excess from the inner part here. This is the excess. And what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we're going to glue it kind of like this, right? Where we have the flat side that's going to be glued on. And we're going to glue it to the base here. And it's going to help strengthen the sides here. But we want to make them kind of like this, almost like that. And you can even cut them down a little bit, so that way they're kind of more rectangular. So you can see the cutout is going to glue like this, right? And then we're going to glue it across like this, and it's going to strengthen the back here. You'll notice once it's dry, it's pretty strong. Pretty strong. Look at that. That's not going anywhere. Really taking shape. That's it. We've got to carve the jaw out a little bit. And what I think I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and, starting with the back here, we want his jaw to kind of curve up into his face. So to do that, I've kind of chosen right where the part ends here, and I've just taken from the middle all the way down to the corner here, and we're going to have that curve in, and then we're going to have it kind of curve around at the top here. And then for the rest of the mouth, we'll just cut it so that way it's kind of it's got that notch in it, or it's got that bevel along the sharp edges. Notice that his jaw kind of fits in with with the cut we made earlier, like that. And you'll kind of see that he has like kind of an overbite, but that's because we don't have his nose. But so I think with that, we can get into covering Springbonnie in fabric. I'm gonna put a photo on the side of the screen for comparison, but Springbonnie has this weird like seam down his forehead. It's in the game, and it's noticeable enough that it's in like every scene with Springbonnie, where he has this like this seam down the center of his face. It's like a big triangle and stuff, or whatever, you know. And we're gonna replicate that, so we are going to do that seam. Okay, so now we have all of our fabric and this yellow EVA that I talked about, and we're going to use this to make the inner ears. It's something that the FNAF movie did, and I'm going to do that for all of my costumes moving forward, where the inner ears of the robots are these kind of like plastic, foam-looking pieces, and I like that. I like that style. I like the effect. I like it, so we're going to keep doing that. Is we're going to cover the muzzle. The muzzle is the only piece out of the whole thing that is a bright yellow. Is this what did I say, dandelion yellow? And we're going to cover it. It's just a rectangle. How you glue fabric onto the muzzle is first you put some glue down in the crease of the center of the nose, put the fabric into that crease, and that is what gives you such a great, like, defined crease in the muzzle. So let's get into building this muzzle piece, shall we? So first we're going to cover it with enough fabric that we will have some allowance to go around it and stuff, and you want to make sure of this for both colors, right? You want to make sure that you have the fluffy side. It's all nice and like plush, right? Not this like more furry, like kind of matte side, right? You want the fluffy side. Maybe a little bit too much, but you know, we don't want to be wasteful, but we don't want to be too little either. So again, we're gonna put some glue down in the crevice of the whoa, getting crazy there. The crevice of the muzzle. Look at that. You can see the crease there, right? That's what we want. We want people to be able to see the crease. Now, to have the notch that we made in the bottom, you want to put some glue on the bottom here, and you want to pull the fabric back as far as you can. Okay? There you have it. Pretty good so far. Next part that we're going to do is along the top, just about where the nose would sit, we're going to put a little zigzag glue. And you're going to pull as tight as you can as well. Now you want to flatten it out. Make sure that the crease suddenly disappears. It's all flat on the top. See? The crease just doesn't exist anymore. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to flip it on its side and we're going to peel back. That's right, peel back the sides of the muzzle, and we're going to create a little arch of glue that's going to ride along the end of the curve of the muzzle. Make sure try to get as little creases as you can around the corners. So that way the fabric's already trying to stretch in your favor, you know? Almost no creases. You want to have the creases almost barely visible on the sides to almost invisible. And so, we're going to do the same line half circle on the other side. So first, peeling it like this. Line, right? Line, half circle, and then pull very tightly. Now, I think that is looking like Springbonnie's muzzle right there, don't you think? Next, what you're going to do is we're going to put some glue along the edge, or like along the side. Not too close to the edge, not too close to the front. You just want to put it on the side. And then you want to pull all the fabric back again. No creases, no creases. That way you get this beautiful front view where it's like super curved. Super curved. And you want to replicate that on the other side. Now what we're going to go back and do is we're going to put some glue right along this, like where the fabric and the foam meet, along the edge of that. And then we're just going to fold it over. Next, we're going to do the same thing for the bottom. Now, for the edges, we're going to put some glue along the end in like a circle on the fabric. All in the creases and stuff. Make sure the fabric's all friendly. And then we're going to go ahead and pull. So, let's go ahead and do that on the other side. Check it out. Now we have the muzzle of Springbonnie, and for all the excess fabric, you just cut it off. closer look. So here we are with the finished muzzle. We've got the wrinkles a little bit on the side, but for the most part, it's really good. So now that we've finished making the muzzle, we're going to sculpt the nose out of foam clay. Now, we've got a ball of it here. We got a ball of foam clay, and remember, it's air dry, and it's going to turn into like foam like this, you know. Okay. So now, for our nose, we're going to take the ball, we're going to flatten it a little bit. Then, with our thumbs, we're going to create the kind of point that we want. Right? So here, we're making the point. We're just rounding it about. You gotta make that point go down at some point. At some point. Maybe that's a bit too much foam clay. I've turned it into this kind of oval with a point at the end. So it's like a rounded triangle almost, you know? Not something, but there we go. Now we have a nose. And we needed to do that so that way the air could, you know, dry it as we move on. Okay, so now the next thing I think we are going to cover in fabric is going to be the ears. They're just as easy. Actually, they're the easiest piece to cover, but we covered the muzzle first so we can make the nose. But it's the easiest piece to cover because they're only a few steps. So here we have the golden color, or the more like darker yellow. I don't remember what it's called, but anyway, the point is, what we have to do is glue one of the faces down like this, all the way across. And then the next part is to just cut them out, and then glue the other side and flip them over, and then cut that out, and then just glue a trim, or like a strip that will go along the edges, and then you glue it together, and then you just cut it. That's how easy it is, and let's do it. But just so they all have spots like this. Next part, glue them all down, do it again. Now, we have all these pieces cut out, right? But the next thing that we need are long strips, which I'm trying to figure out where we're going to get them. Maybe we could just get them off of here. But my thing is, how... Oh! We can't, because it just needs to wrap around once the pieces. But actually, wait, hold on. This is considering that is part of... Yeah, I think it'll work. I think it will work. So let us cut some strips out of this. Now, for where you want to start gluing, you want to start right about where the bottom of your piece is. So you're going to decide where the bottom of each piece is. For the tops of the ears, it's very easy to tell, oh, the top is where it's curved up and the bottom is where it's very flat. But for the rectangle parts of the ears, it's kind of more difficult to tell, hey, this is the top, hey, this is the bottom. But what we can do is you pick a side that you think, hey, this is going to be the bottom, and then you're going to glue only on half of the bottom here, right? Then you're going to want to overlap your piece just a little bit more than half. So you've put a square of glue that's half of the piece, and you've overlapped your strip a little bit more than half of the piece. So that way you have this tiny lip here. And this is what you're going to glue to the other side when it comes back around. So now we can go down, you hold the pieces of fabric out, and you're going to go down square of glue, and we merge our two flaps. Remember this flap that we gave a little bit of a lip to? Now you're going to glue them together. Other thing you're going to notice is that the pieces we glued earlier are leaving big gaps. And what you can do is just put some glue along the edge. Once you have ensured that all the edges are glued down well enough, right? You compress it together, make sure it's all good, and then you can start to cut off the excess of your pieces. Check it out. So now we've got almost a perfect ear all together with hot glue. Now we're gonna do this for the other three pieces, which I'm gonna speed up somehow. Alright, so we finished the ears, and I put little dots, I don't know if you can see that, but I put little dots on the fronts of the ears, and what's next is we need to cut the ears out of this yellow EVA, or not the ears, but the inner ears out of this yellow EVA. And what I like to do is just line up to where I'd like to have the bits of the ear, and then the width of the ear should be about like right here or something, and then we just cut it out. It's pretty simple. Look at that. Kind of cut off the, cut down right. Did I cut down the line that was supposed to make up, I think what this was supposed to be? I think so. Anyway, now we have a rectangle for that. I'm looking at this yellow, and you may not be able to tell, but I think it's the wrong yellow. That this more bright yellow is the yellow I was supposed to grab. And you know what? It is. Well, that's just my bad, I guess. But not a terrible thing for us, because it's pretty easy to just redo what I just did. Look, here's the difference, okay? This is a greenish yellow. This is the right bright yellow. Now there's a piece for each section, right? Good. The next thing is to make sure that it fits each section. So, now that we've got the cutouts of the inner ears, which we're taking those rectangles and just rounding them out to the shapes of the ear, like pointed for the tops of the ears, and then just a rounded rectangle for the bottom of the ears. Now we can just glue these down, and we will have basically the finished ears. So let's glue this down. Alright, so now the ears are complete. Other than the endoskeleton bits, which we will do later, the next thing I think that we're going to cover is going to be covering the entire head, and then we will leave the jaw for last. So, how are we going to go about covering the mask, or the face? Usually what I like to do, I'll just wrap the fabric, oh, this is the wrong side, wrap the fabric around the front like this. Okay. What this does is it's going to give you a center seam, like this, right? And you're going to have a flat piece of fabric for the face. So first step, we're going to remove half the fabric so we can see half of the face, and we're going to glue right down the middle, and then we're going to glue a square along the eyebrows, square along the cheeks, and a little bit around the eyes, if that makes sense. So remember, we're gluing in small squares, right? And then when there's a curve, we put glue along the curve. Okay, we're trying to keep all the wrinkles and stuff on the bottom here. It'll bunch up on the bottom of the cheek, on the tops, and on the sides of the face. We want no wrinkles, nothing. So now let's do the other side. Now we do want to cut the fabric a little past the middle of the mask, just so we can go ahead and we can work with it easier. So now we're going to overlap the fabric into the back of the mask, or into the inside, just by gluing along the lip and folding it inward. Now for the top of the head here, what we need to do is glue along here, and we're going to try to pull the fabric up to a point. So then there's going to be a center seam that runs along the middle of the head. Now remember, once we pass that like middle of the mask line, it doesn't matter what happens to this piece of fabric, because we're going to cover another piece of fabric on the back. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to not cut right next to the head. We're going to cut a little bit above it. That way, if there needs to be glue down in here, which there does, lots of it, didn't really glue well, we can go ahead and do that, and we have extra fabric for it. Okay, the next thing we want to do is cut out the eyes. So what I do is I usually try to find the center, right? And with some scissors, oh, these are the wrong ones, I create a little slit in both of the eyes. Right? And from that slit, I go across. So I'll create a very big line. And then from that line, I create another line from top to bottom. So that now my cut will look like kind of like a plus. And then I go diagonally in between those pieces like we're cutting a pizza. And that way, when we have all of our cuts, you'll notice that's going to help us form that kind of circle. So then the next thing I like to do is I'll pull one of the corners out like this, and I'll put a good dot of glue on the back of it, and then I will push it in and push it down. Not too much glue. You don't want to push it down and then the glue spurts out and you burn yourself. So, dot of glue on the bottom of the pizzas, and so yeah, I'll show you when it's done. We have our eye sockets. Check it out. There you go. From cutting his face, I wonder if this is long enough. Might be. Is it? Oh, it's just barely. So for the jaw, it's as simple as it looks, really. It's just a big rectangle of fabric. Look, see? Well, this is a very wonky rectangle because it was a scrap off of the bottom of here. But long and short, it's just a big rectangle. You put the jaw in the middle of it. You got to make sure that it covers the entire thing, which means that it has to loop back around the end here. Same rectangle technique where you're making rectangles along the side, and then you just glue it down. I would also suggest for this part, make sure that your stretchy end of the fabric can stretch in 2 different ways if you didn't know. So look, for a piece of fabric, right, there is a part that doesn't stretch well, and then there is a length that stretches really well, right? So you want to find the end, the length or width that stretches really well, so that way you can just stretch it over this big piece, like this. Put some glue along the edge, and you're going to want to fold it down into the lip, like that. Bottom's quite easy. Take your glue. You go down the seam, right on the edge, all the way around. Then you just pull it forward. Now, this is going to be the part where it's going to want to crease. It's going to want to get wrinkles. You can't let that happen, okay? You got to just keep pulling and tugging until you have little to no wrinkles. And then once we come to the edge, which we're almost there, you see, almost at the edge of the foam, you want to glue along this edge here. That's why we left a little gap, and this is for the fabric. So you're going to glue along right next to the EVA. You're going to glue. And we want this inner part to be the EVA. I think maybe we can either cover it with some black fabric or just leave it as it is with the very dark gray that it's got. I think we'll cover it though. So I'm going to make slits at the corners here. This inner half circle. And then we're just going to poke with our finger along the seam. Try to get any little excess fabric in there. Ta-da! Look at that. Isn't that great? I was going to leave this for last, but then that scrap was eyeing me and was saying, hey, I'm right here. So we kind of, you know, went a little off course, but we'll get back on track. Especially since the back of the head is pretty simple. It's just the same process as the front of the head, I'd say. You know, you're gluing down the face, gluing down the sides, and then coming to the point at the top, and you're gluing, and then you're cutting it. It's the same thing. Anyway, what we're going to do for the bottom, we're going to do the same thing as the top, where we just cut along the seam. So let's do that next. And now we're just trimming off any excess fabric we see. So then we can come to like corners like this, from this to this. Check it out. Now we have our jaw. Go in here, like this. So now, I think our next step is really going to be to make the back of the head. Well, let's go ahead. Let's cut a rectangle that's going to be long enough for the back of the head. Maybe a little bit more. Alright. Now we can go ahead, starting with our back center seam. We're going to have these edges that overlap on the sides. And we're going to put glue down there. And then we're going to cut it. It's going to make a nice seam. Hey, if I ever did like a Twitch stream or something of me building costumes like this, would that be something you guys are interested to see? Let me know. I'm always interested to hear back from you guys and hear what kind of content you guys are looking forward to. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, whoops, hold on, I don't want to trip later. What we're going to do is we're going to glue from here, this corner, all the way up, across, and around, like that. And again, we're going to pull tightly. We're going to do the same on the other side. Okay, again, we're going to give a big space, like this. Alright? So, let's start from the corner here. We're going to put glue down between the fabrics. Right? And then we're going to smash the fabrics together. Just like that. I started to kind of cut the center seam. Kind of looks bad. I would have probably done a better job if we weren't going to cover it up in like 10 seconds, which we are, with our piece of fabric that goes down Springbonnie's face. It's not going to be this piece of fabric, but basically what we can do is something along the lines of that, where we have just another piece of fabric that's going to create the illusion that there's this seam there, you know? But that's kind of the thought process right there. Just creating that fake seam, kind of. Let's do the other side. going to do is we're going to cut along the seam here. And then we're going to tack down this back piece. But first we're going to cut down the seam. I'm sure there's prettier ways to do seams. Trust me, I know there are. But I don't really know them. But let's do the other side. Check it out, guys. So now we have our Springbonnie head, right? Okay, so now we're gonna make the rings for the eyes. But before we do that, I'd like to outline the eyes in some black fabric. So here we've got our black fleece to use. Of course, you could still use that. You can use black felt. Don't have to buy a bunch of fleece for it. Alright. So what you're going to do is you're going to put some glue on the edge, and then you're just going to place the fabric. We're going to have the split be at the bottom of the eyes. I like giving characters first these black inner rings. It makes the eye pop out more and makes it look like a bigger socket, even if it isn't. One of Circus Baby's old eyes, right? See, look, as opposed to without the black ring, right? Looks creepy, but with the black ring. Look at that. Even if you put the eye close, you'll still have that black ring, right? Here, might be a little cutesy, but with the black ring, really adds some definition to the eye. Now we've got the black around our eyes here. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make the yellow part around the eyes. Which to do this, first we need to know how big the eye is, right? We can kind of get a rough guess from putting the EVA right next to the eye. I think I'm going to give maybe like 1/2 inch in width, and then same in length. I don't know if I have like a circle this size that I could probably maybe use. Not really. So what we're going to do is just wing it. So check it out. That's not a bad circle, I'd say. It's going to go right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is first, we're going to have a piece that kind of overlaps the eyes, gets bigger, wider, and we're just going to have it go to the top of the head, you know? So, we're going to cut it right here. I'm going to give about 1/2 inch of excess on the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue down the sides of the fabric, and I'll show you why. A good long bit of line of glue on the end, and then we're just going to curl that up. Just curl it up. We're going to go ahead and glue down the middle. Now, it's very important that we do it correctly and we don't mess up, because this is the face. We're going to put some glue along here, along the lip here. But we want to make sure that we put it as far in as we can, so that way we don't have, you see how when the fabric glues, I don't know if you can see that, it's going to make it very flat. You're going to be able to see there was glue there, right? And we want to make sure that we cover that up as best as we can. And then when we get to here, we're going to cut it off. This little lip doesn't really matter. It's going to get covered up by the muzzle and the nose, of course. Look at how cool that looks. It's coming together. Once you put the nose on it, it really comes to be the character. I'm going to try to roll it up a little bit. Just a little bit. Remember those rings that we were making? Yeah, we're going to make the other one. And I'm going to take my circle, and we're going to take our pencil, and we're just going to trace it out. Alright. And the side that we traced on is going to be the back. So now the next thing that we want to do is we want to figure out roughly how big the eye circle is. Because if we cut into this and we make it too big, then it's not going to look as flush. But if we make it too small, then we can always adjust. What do I think? What do I think is the eye size? Do I have anything? Water bottle? At the end of it? Roughly, maybe? Oh my goodness, guys. I think that might have just been, like, perfect. But now you'll notice the eye ring is a little too big. So we're going to just shrink that down a little bit. Okay, so now we've got our two eye rings, and we're going to glue them down around the eyes. And on the inside we still have that black, right? So we can keep them creepy. But I don't think that's creepy enough. So we're going to steal Plushtrap's eyes for a minute. So the effect we're trying to go for is this, you see. Isn't that creepy? So next we're going to make the endo parts of the ears and the teeth for the mask. And there are different ways to do this, but the way that I like doing this is that I have this, these are roughly about all the same type of material. It's EVA foam, but with a greater thickness. I think this is 5mm, maybe, I think it's 5mm. I think it's 5mm foam. This is the puzzle piece floor foam that I showed in my in the intro with the materials. The thing about it is that on one side it has this pattern, right? And then there's also another piece that I have right here that is the same thing as that. It's just got a smaller pattern. And then this is just 5mm foam, and it's got no pattern on either side. So this is that side, this is that side. There's no pattern, right? So for my build, I'm going to be using this no pattern stuff, right? But for the no pattern thicker EVA, it's pretty expensive, more expensive than the 3mm that I showed. But again, for my purposes, I'm going to be using this more expensive no patterned 5mm EVA. And it doesn't really matter what color you get, because if you have spray paint, you can paint it any color. So how are we to make the endo ears? All we're really going to do is cut a rectangle, small rectangle, out of the board. So to do this, we're going to see how big we want our endo pieces. And I'm just going to roughly say that I want the pieces to be about this big. I'm going to give a measurement in a second. That's about an inch. It's an inch. I'm going to make the endo bits for the ears an inch in width. And in length, that's up to you. How far do you want the ears to stick out from the head? So now we've got our rectangle. And we're going to mark on the head, the mask here, just about where we want the ears to sit. I think I want the ears to sit not on the center line, but just a little bit before it. We're going to mark both sides. So here's our center line, right? Center of the side of the mask. And here are where I want the ears to sit. About the top, a little bit off to the sides, almost of the head. Okay, so to do this, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut a hole into the mask, right, for the foam to sit into. So we want to make a hole small enough that it's going to have a good grip on the EVA here. You can see that, right? And we're going to make a hole in a few places. So we're going to make the hole on the opposite side. We're going to cut a hole right in the center bottom of the ear, right? We're going to cut a hole the center middle of the top of the ear, so right at the top. And we're going to do that so that way it can connect to our top ear piece. And we're going to make a hole right at the bottom of that on the center, like that. So let me mark and cut all of our holes, and you'll see me do that right now. Well, that took just about forever. We have our hole in the bottom. This is the bottom and the top of the bottom ear, and then just the bottom of the top ear. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to make these to glue for our ears. What I think I'm going to do for this piece is about 6.5 inches long, and then we said that it was an inch thick. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half, because we're going to make 2 more of these to go. This goes to the head. Oh my goodness. So we're going to make 2 more of these. We're going to cut it in half. There we go. Now we've got 4 different pieces. The next part is we're going to make the teeth. We're going to make the costume teeth, not the gnarly, gross inside sharp teeth, not yet. Now you can totally sculpt each tooth out of the foam clay, and you will actually get a way better result. It'll be rounded and it'll be to your liking, but we're gonna go with the EVA. So to start, we're gonna have to decide how big a tooth is. This 1 inch of thickness might be kind of the way to go. I'm gonna cut a big long strip out of the foam, and I'll show you. We're going to try to make them 1 inch thick. So here we have another strip, just like kind of how we did the inner ear parts. When you're doing the teeth, do a little bit longer, because we're going to paint them, and then if you don't like how long they are, you can always shorten the flat end, and you can go, okay, I want this tooth to be a little bit shorter, and then you can go from there. And then what we're going to do to round them out, we're going to cut off the corners just a little bit. You could probably do a better job at rounding them, the bottoms of them out, but I think that's pretty good. And now we've just got to make a dozen more, so just make a bunch of strips, make a bunch of teeth, and we're going to do that right now. Okay, so now you'll see that we cut out all the teeth. I actually cut out about 20 teeth, and I cut, I know I said 8 for the top, 10 for the bottom, but I cut out 2 extras just in case if I do decide to make it even. I don't think I will, but we cut them anyway, so now that we have them. Okay, so now the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and paint all of our pieces. That is where painter's tape comes in. First, we are going to go ahead and make a piece that is longer than all the teeth spaced out, right? Then we're going to tape it down, right? We're going to fold the ends of the painter's tape, like this. And we're going to place it on the table. And we're going to fold the other end and do the same thing. And we're going to go ahead and put the bottoms of the teeth on the painter's tape, like this. And there you go. Now we have all the teeth set up. They kind of look like tiny little tombstones. But now we have all the teeth set up, and because that they're put on the painter's tape, we can go ahead and spray paint them all together at once, right? And they won't move because they're on the tape. They're taped down. Now we have all the teeth down. We're gonna do one for the nose. We're gonna do one for all the ear pieces. There we go. And lastly, you want to do a small little piece. Roll up on the ends for the nose. This. So now I'm gonna see you guys outside. How was that? Was that a good transition? Yeah. We've got our 3 paints. We're going to use the black for the nose. We're going to use the white for the teeth. And we're going to use our trusty metallic for the ears. Oops, they fell down. Okay, so let's get painting. Okay, I think we're ready for paint. If you want something, a darker coat, a more white coat, a more metallic coat, don't just keep spraying until it's completely white or completely black. Do multiple coats. You don't want the paint to run, and it's going to have drip marks and stuff, and you don't want that on your spray paint. But I'm pretty happy with the finishes on these. We're back inside, but as we wait for the paint to dry, I think we should glue the muzzle on. So that way it can sit right under the eye rings like that. So it won't sit like here, it'll sit right under them. What I like to do is glue it in sections. So we'll glue a line down the middle, then we'll glue a half circle around each piece. Okay, so I think that glued on really well. So as we're still waiting for the paint to dry, I think we're going to go ahead and do the eye. What we're going to do is we're going to use these jumbo ping pong balls, and we're going to cut one of them in half. So we got our ping pong ball here, and also we have our glass cabochons paper backing. We're going to print out Springbonnie's eye, and we're going to glue it to the back of this. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to take our box cutter and we're going to stab the line of the jumbo ping pong ball. So you want to be very careful. But that's okay. Now we're going to take our scissors. We're just going to snip right along that line. Now we've got 2 halves of the jumbo ping pong ball, and we're going to use the glass cabochons. This is going to be the center of the eye. So now I've got my computer here, and I'm going to try to screen record so that way you guys can see what I see on my end. So I have our eye design here. I think it's pretty good. We went from this to this. I took this real iris, I made it very blue, very bright, and then I kind of shrunk the center black part down and made a smaller inner circle. I don't really know how big it's going to come out, so we're going to start with a very small-ish size, and we're going to make about 4 copies of each, right? 4 copies of each. and then we are going to print it. So check it out. So we've got our different sizes here, and the glass cabochon is going to fit this one right here. We're going to dabble on a big old drop like that. Same with the other eye right here. And then we're going to place it down on the glue. We're going to rub the glue around. Just like that. We're going to rub it around so it doesn't have any air bubbles. We're going to do our best to center it. Whoops. Same with the other side. Now, at this moment, as we wait for the glass cabochons to dry, I'm pretty sure our paint has dried. So let's go ahead and bring those in. And I'm going to just snap my fingers and they're going to appear. Wow, what a crazy transition that was. And we're going to start with the ears. First, we're going to take all our pieces off for the ears. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue them into the bottom ear first. So, there we go. That's one. There we go. Now we've glued all our inner ear pieces, right? We want a little bit more of a flop, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to cut along the, where I think the ear should split, which is like, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cut a triangle notch. So we've cut it off at the top here, and then we're going to cut our notch so it's got a slant to it, right? And then we're going to put some glue in the top ear. And that kind of triangle angle is what's going to give the ears that bend that we're looking for. The next thing that we can easily glue on is the nose. There it is. I think we did a good job centering it. We should go ahead and glue in the teeth. How we're going to do the top teeth is we're going to start from the middle and work our way to the back. So we want these teeth to be just a little bit shorter. So now you can see that the transition between his teeth on his face here kind of curves from the buck teeth down to the smaller teeth up in a smile. You see that? That's what we want. Because we're going to make the bottom teeth. They're all the same size. Roughly. So you can see that they're going to sit not on the lip, but right on the EVA in the back here. Look at those teeth. Okay. What we want to do is take our scissors here. There we go. We're going to go ahead and cut them out, and we're going to cut around them. So now we've got our glass. Look, it's just the paper on the back. We've got our glass eyes right here. We're going to go from the center of the eye here, and we're going to roughly trace around. Okay, that's a terrible trace, but you know, we're going to go ahead and cut it out, and we're going to use our box cutter to make a small poke that. Then we're going to use our scissors to cut the circle. So check it out. Look at how cool of an eye we've got there. And with the glass, oh man. We're just going to put a little bit of glue around the back just to hold it in place. Check it out. Okay, so now that we have our eyes done, we've got a little bit of black fabric here, and we're going to take a good piece of our puzzle piece 5mm foam, and we're going to cut a rectangle. Should be big enough that it covers the eyes and the sides of the eyes, like this, so it goes past the eyes. And we're going to bevel the edges of the foam like this, so that way it'll fit up inside the mask. I hope you guys can see, like right on this eye, you can see that it's up inside there. And you want it to kind of look like an eyelid almost. There you go. Kind of see it. We're going to take some of the teeth pieces. You want to cut squares that are going to glue to the front. Actually, I think one square should be enough, so we're going to actually leave one of those squares. Ring glue it. Centered and on the side that the beveled edges are, is that we're going to take our black fabric and we're going to glue it over the EVA. Then we're going to cut off the excess. Yep. And we're going to glue the eyes. Actually, we're going to glue it inside the head. So you're going to want to put some glue on the centerpiece here. And of course on the bevels. Bevels. And what this is going to do is going to give a little bit of room at the bottom for your eyes so you can see out of the mask. And now we're going to put the fake eyes in the center by just putting some glue around the edge. Look at how creepy this rabbit is. Next thing we want to do are those creepy sharp teeth. We're going to start with our thick 5mm either puzzle piece or flat. I think I'm going to use my flat. And we're going to cut 2 pieces about maybe an inch or so thick. So it's going to sit inside like that. We're not going to glue it. Not going to glue it, not yet. We just want one. And we want one for the top as well. So we've got these 2 pieces, and now what we're going to do is we're going to bevel them weirdly. Check it out, look at that. You see that? Okay, so check it out. See how that is? It's like warped and weird. We just need to replicate this onto this piece. Look at how gross that looks. And then when we paint it red, a bloody apple red, lightly, oh, it's gonna look gnarly. Okay. So now we have our painted parts. They're pretty red. They're not super red or anything, but what they're supposed to be are some jagged looking gums. And what's next gonna happen is we've got to make some gnarly looking teeth. So how are we gonna make the crazy looking teeth? We're going to use some EVA. Is we're gonna cut strips of EVA here into points, and then just make some crazy looking teeth. They're all pieces of EVA. They're just different sized triangles and straights and stuff. Okay, so I think we've made enough tiny teeth here to glue onto our gross looking gums. So let's just start randomly gluing different sizes. We're going to take some of our puzzle piece. We're going to cut 2 small rectangles like this, and we're going to glue it on the back of the bottom. The back of the bottom jaw. Look at that. Look how gross that looks. Look at that. Look at that. That's perfect. And then we're going to do the same for this piece. Look at those gnarly looking teeth. So when he closes his mouth almost, it's fine. Gross. What we're going to do is take another rectangle. I'm going to take the one with the pattern this time. We're going to split it in half. This. There we go. Now we got 2 poles on either side of the head. Now, you may be wondering why I only attached the gums with a small piece of EVA here, and that's because it'd be easy to take off if I were to do like a scene where he can't have the gums, definitely. Like maybe in Freddy's he shouldn't have the gums, you know. Like to keep the mystery. Last step is to put some glue on the sides here. This, just a little bit here. Use a spray paint here. Keep the mouth in place. His teeth, man. It's gross. And those eyes are so gross. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did like this video, why not give it a like? Also comment down below what character you would like to see a tutorial for next, if this is your kind of style of video. It was a lot of fun to make this tutorial, and I might do another one in the future. Thank you all so much for watching, and of course, remember, subscribe or I'll tell your mom! Happy 10-year anniversary, Five Nights at Freddy's! Woo! Can you believe it's been 10 years? I've been doing this stuff for, what? How long? Almost 10 years? Well, it's 2015.